Same message, the need to act now. And today there are around 8 billion people on this planet. 8 billion, that is a remarkable number. And all of us need food. All of us need energy for our daily activities. But the resources on this planet are limited. That's why we need to reduce our impact, to minimize our carbon footprint. We cannot go on exploiting the planet the way we have been, because unlike Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mother Earth can't say, "I'll be back."
How long did you wait to put this line in? You've been dying to do it.
I've been dreaming about it. What'd you think, Governor? Thumbs up. I knew it.
Definitely thumbs up. I know he loves you. He's your friend. But I catch myself out at the same time that I think of people who are doing this and the Austrian World Summit, and sometimes people might see it as a Hollywood blockbuster where in the end one guy comes and saves the world, but we've learned this is not going to happen. By now we should know that we all actually need to be in this together.
And we need to keep that optimism that Monica was talking about, to never lose hope. I mean, Prince Charles just became king. Did anyone actually think that was going to happen? He waited 73 years and now he's wearing the crown. Sylvia, to me, that proves anything is possible.
What switch you're making here? What swift switch was this to King Charles from the environment? But you know what? I watched the coronation and somehow I sympathize with him, because back then, Prince Charles, he was always into environment. He was an organic farmer long before it was famous or fashionable. He's growing his own plants and fruits and vegetables. So I think this is a king very much for the environment, very modern still. So I would say Charles is a winner.
I would agree. And I think the thing that we're hoping to see is not just leaders doing it, but to see entire countries, entire governments become committed to being winners in this area. Unfortunately, what we often see, though, is talk and not action.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised by it, that a lot of countries are really in it, but sometimes politicians are a little bit reluctant to act. And so here is my child imagination going wild. I think that if it would be not something like a competition or a game show or like the Eurovision Song Contest, where all the countries are in together and the one who wins the environmental award is the winner. Do you think this would put some drive into the system?
Are you talking about a climate ninja warrior?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
You could host this one.
We will host it.
Yeah, let's just put it out as an idea, but I think what we are all clear on today is that we need to act circular.
Yeah. Going circular is the topic of our last panel here, the last panel of the morning. It's also a theme on the stage here. If you look closely at warriors standing, these high tables are made of the interior of washing machines, recycled or upcycled washing machines. I think it's pretty cool. And also the tables we've had before, these are washing machines. Going circular makes so much sense. Not wasting, but reusing things, turning them into something else. A simple way to reduce the impact of human activities on the environment. Let me welcome my panel here today. Leonore Gewessler, of course you know her by now, and you have always known her, our Minister for Climate Action. Jan Jenisch, CEO, and also, as of very recently, the chairman of the board of Holcim, a company that focuses on sustainable building. And Kei Wang, the director of the Platform for Accelerating the Circular Economy at the World Resources Institute. Do we already have the power to go circular? What do we need? What more do we need? I'd like to start with you, Kei Wang. You are the director of the Platform for Accelerating the Circular Economy, an expert in this field. What is this platform? Explain to us or define a circular economy.
Thank you so much, Hannelore. So the platform PACE was created at the World Economic Forum. It's now hosted by the World Resources Institute. It's a platform of world leaders, high-level leaders, who have lots of ministers and CEOs, sharing the common ambition to accelerate the circular economy. Maybe let me start explaining a little bit what is circular economy, because it sounds like a complex technical term, but it is not. It is an old concept we just got forgotten as we get richer. So to explain what's circular, let me first say what is linear. So that's our economy is mostly linear today. We take a lot of materials from Mother Nature. We do that about 100 billion tons a year. So it's more than 10 tons per person by either mining or agriculture. We make them into the stuff we use. And then at the end of the life, we dump it back into Mother Nature by either burning or dumping. And in a circular economy, we aim to both reduce the input, so what we take from the nature, and also we dump into the nature. And there are many ways to do that. Probably the most well-known way is recycling, just like the brilliant title of this session, right? I will be back. But circular economy is a lot more than recycling. It starts with looking at how can we reduce the need for materials. Can we make a car or a building with less materials? Or even better, can we meet our need for mobility with fewer vehicles, like by increasing access to public transport? We just heard a prime example from Austria on that. And it's about keeping things in use for longer, right? Make products more durable and find old products a new owner. And then recycling, and then keep nature in mind throughout the process. Regenerate it and don't damage it.
One company that has realized that you can actually use a lot of materials is your company, is Holcim. Sustainable building solutions, I've said your goal is to decarbonize building. You have a very clear strategy towards that, net zero by 2050. What does circularity mean for your business? How do you address that? How do you address it globally?
Circular construction and recycling is already a reality for Holcim. We have launched today in Austria our first cement type, EcoPlanet RC, which contains 25% of construction demolition materials. So we're literally taking the old buildings back and we recycle them back to make the best performing building material product out of it, 25%. The product is very easy to recycle, the construction demolition waste. We take back old concrete structures, we take back bricks, and we recycle them in our facilities, and they can be used 100% with no downcycling. That's the beauty of it, and this is large scale for us. We have been, last year we took already back 7 million tons of construction and demolition materials. That is 1,000 full truckloads every single day of operation. So that's a big part of our story, and Holcim is the largest producer and supplier of building materials in the world, and in the future we will be the largest recycling company of the world.
Let me just add a question here. You're also launching a product here in Austria. Tell us about it.
Austria is at the heart of our recycling activities. We are recycling more than 700,000 tons of waste in our factories every year for alternative fuels and also for new products. So EcoPlanet RC is available as of today. So for all of you who are in the building space, that's the product to be used. And we are having 25% of Austrian construction demolition materials inside, so no newly produced product, just simply recycled and put back as a new product.
Minister Gewissler, thank you for being here. We're really using you for all our panels today. There is an Austrian circular economy strategy in place. How are you implementing this? What does it mean?
Thank you for pointing out what circular economy actually means, because it's quite clear we'll not manage climate action without going circular. We will not manage to sustain this beautiful planet of ours if we continue to live over its natural limits. And currently we produce and consume as if we had 3 planets, but there is only this wonderful one planet that we need to live to sustain. And so circular economy is at the heart of this challenge. So we did in Austria last year a circular economy strategy that describes the transformation that's needed. So the transformation from a linear to a circular way of producing and consuming the goods we use in our everyday life. that's focused around strategies that you all know very well. So reducing the need, reuse, recycle, but also goes beyond that. So what does refurbishing, repurposing, rethinking and redesigning mean? And it gives also concrete indicators how we want to measure, how we reduce our material footprint, how we want to increase resource efficiency and much more. So big strategy focusing on several sectors. Construction is one of them, textiles, many others. And then I'll quote something that General Middeldorp said yesterday, because I thought it was very smart and I asked him for permission if I could say it. He said, think big. And that's what the strategy does. It thinks big because it rethinks the way we need to produce, but you need to start somewhere. So act locally and start somewhere. And so with all the policies we do, we try to get circularity in, whether this is innovation funding with a completely new innovation fund focusing on circularity, whether this is a deposit return scheme for bottles that will be finally introduced in Austria as of 25. Hard work. Or whether it's a repair bonus, where we support people who want to have from their mobile phone to the washing machine repaired, with a subsidy to make repairs more accessible and more normal. So you can get this thing, even if it means a complete rethink of how we do business or how you do business. You can get started by concrete projects and concrete products, and that's what we're trying to do in Austria.
And it makes so much sense. Thank you, Minister Gewissler. Over to you, Silvia.
Thank you very much to this panel, and may I introduce to you my panel now. I'm standing here with the Head of Mobility and Sustainability of BMW, Thomas Becker. Schönen guten Tag. And the Director of the European Clean Cities Campaign, Barbara Stoll. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's not go ladies first. What do you think about it? Is it okay? Yeah, we start with Mr. Becker. BMW is a huge company, and I know that you have invested a lot in e-mobility. What is your goal there?
Well, our goal very clearly is until 2030 to bring our total corporate CO2 footprint down by 40% per vehicle. And that includes achieving over 50% of fully electric cars sold before 2030.
Okay.
And to just name one example, here in Austria, we are already at a rate of 50% of vehicles sold having a plug and 25% being fully electric now. What does that mean? It means you reduce big deal tailpipe emissions. But on the other hand, the faster you decarbonize the tailpipe, the more you have to take care of the value chain. Mm-hmm. You have to take care of the electricity that actually goes into driving the car. And you have to think about where do all those highly energy-intensive materials, steel, aluminum, plastics, the battery cell materials actually come from, and how can you bring down their footprint? Because very clearly, if you take the Paris Agreement and the 1.5 degree requirement on the industry series, the job is not done with tailpipe. You actually have to address everything that you are responsible for, including the parts that you purchase.
Okay. Let me go a little bit more into this circular movement and the circular strategies you're using at BMW. You also developed a circular system or strategy that you're using old materials, like materials, for new cars. Could you explain more about that?
Well, at the moment you can say that more than 90% of a car is recyclable, meaning somebody can do something with it. In order to bring down your own CO2 footprint, you need to massively ramp up the rate of secondary material that goes into the new cars. So the status quo is already not bad if you look at steel or aluminum, 20, 30, 40%, but it's not enough. And it's namely not enough on plastics, and it is still very low on batteries because there are not that many old electric cars coming back. So we need to massively accelerate these shares of renewables. We have been showing in Glasgow at the climate conference that you can build a car actually without any primary materials, with recycled stuff only, technically. But the challenge is the quality, the available volume, and the price of secondary material that meets automotive requirements. And this is where we really need to make a big effort, us as makers, with our suppliers, with science when it comes to better sorting and shredding and separating material groups in order to ramp up the share of secondary materials in our new products.
I hear BMW saying challenge accepted. I believe in you. It's going to happen, for sure. Thank you so much for being here. Let me get a little bit private. My mom was driving her car for 30 years, and she just had to give it away, and she was devastated and super sad about it. And every one of us who drives a car knows cars also need to be insured. And there is an insurance company, Allianz Austria, and I think we have a person from Allianz Austria here. Oh, the CEO himself, Rémi Vrignon. Thank you very much for being here. He's also the president of the Austrian Insurance Association. And I learned that Allianz, for example, not only insures my car, but it also makes a lot of effort to prolong the life of my car. So what are the steps you're taking?
Thank you, Silvia. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. So Allianz, being for 7 years now, not only a partner of this wonderful event, we have been thinking a lot in our role of an asset manager. But now we want to go the next step in terms of circular economy, and we were thinking of how does it relate to exactly the topic you mentioned. Now we are here for fixing things. Repair or replace. And take this example you mentioned, Silvia, on the car, and take a simple example of a side board or a side panel of a small car. Now the difference if you replace it or repair it is huge. If you repair it, you will save 60% of CO2 and you will save around 50% of costs. Now this is around in a year. Yeah, so this is approximately the energy consumption of 5,000 households. This is the leverage if you increase in Europe the repair rate by 2%. So it's a huge difference. It's a very small practical example, but this is our roles. What do we need for that? We need first partners. So we need partners where we can rely on the way how it is repaired, how things are repaired, and second, we need the products. And by these two things, we can make a difference. And we don't just have the power. Together, in a partnership, we bring the power together. Thank you.
Thank you. What is the... Yeah, let's give him an applause. I'm so happy that you're here. Can I meet you at lunch later to talk about the new car of my mom?
Yes, with pleasure. Thank
great.
you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Let's switch over now to you, dear Barbara. Let me give some facts at the beginning, because I was preparing for this event and I learned that every year 9 million people are dying due to pollution every year, and the World Health Organization is talking about it, and it's still happening. And you are here from the Clean Cities campaign of the European Union. Let's stay with the car topic. What can we do that we are still mobile, that we don't lose our mobility, but we lower emission? What are the possibilities you are working with, especially when it also comes to rural areas?
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia, and pleasure to be here. So what we do at the Clean Cities campaign is we are driving cities to become more sustainable and for people to move around more sustainably. What that means is we need to drive less. I'm sorry to say that, but first and foremost, people need to sort of learn how to move about without using a vehicle, and especially a polluting vehicle. So we're very much about promoting active mobility, such as walking, cycling, e-scooters, e-bicycles, and very importantly, public transport. And for journeys that cannot otherwise be completed, we are all for electric vehicles as well. And what's very, very important in our cities is that we know that 3/4 of Europeans live in cities. So cities are pretty much at the forefront of fighting climate change. So we have the power, cities have the power, and if we change, we can change the world. And what's extremely important is to go in a direction where people understand that our individual choices have an impact at a collective level, and that we bring down emissions, and by that we bring down the level of air pollution, and basically we create cities where humans can flourish, because also if we walk and cycle more, we become more healthy, we become happier, and cities in general become happier places to live. So that's pretty much what we're doing.
Thank you so much. This sounds very, very inspiring, but I know that people are not always happy if you install something that they don't know, and they're suspicious of it, they don't like it, they don't see the benefit yet. So how do you help those people? How would you help me? How do you convince me to cycle more?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say that an example for the UK where I live. So over 50% of car journeys are under 2 miles. For Europeans, you know what that means. It's a 3-point-something kilometers. And so that's a very, very small distance, which can be done in other ways. So you as an individual, you could consider, doing that journey to the grocery store or picking up your child from school in a different way. If you don't have a fancy e-bicycle, which I would support very much that you actually get, but if you don't have it, then you just use a normal bicycle, or you even scoot, or you get on the metro, you get on the tram. And so even just changing your mobility patterns 1 day a week can bring down your overall personal transport emissions by 25%. So it is a lot, and all it takes is a little bit of thinking. And when you think about your convenience, I know there are heavy bags to carry, and I know it's extremely comfortable to leave the mess around in the car, do the makeup or do the hair, get out, get on, get dressed for that event. But the idea is that we just a little bit of change at individual level can have a huge collective impact. But what I will also say is that it's not just the individual choices, it's about political will, and that is extremely important. And for those of you here today, you need to take this on board. Politicians, do your job. Get the finest regulations in so that people can make the choices. People need the choice. The choice needs to be affordable, it needs to be accessible, and we need to be able to make it convenient. We need to make not just the automobile convenient, although that can be very nice, but And don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't drive, but the idea is that a healthy transportation system in any city or in a rural area includes cars, but not only cars. And more journeys than today are done by walking, cycling, and public transport.
So to see the variety, yeah, please. Barbara, you are a force of nature. I will do whatever you say.
You should, Sylvia, please.
Yes, I will.
I'll follow up with you.
Oh, good. We'll go for a cycle, and then I'll go on a car ride with you. Hannelore, please.
Just another note on bicycles. I moved back from America to Vienna 2 years ago, and I discovered Vienna is wonderful. You can use bicycles, you can use public transportation. You basically do not need a car, basically, just for very, very few errands. That's okay. I'd like to move back to cities. Circular cities is something that you are also promoting. It's one way of getting to a net zero world. And you have created the Circular Cities Barometer. What is that project? What can we learn from that project?
No, it's a project we do together with Bloomberg News, and and they are measuring the circularity of a city. So there are many different KPIs, and we believe it's so important because circularity and recycling has to happen locally. We heard this a bit from BMW just now, that we don't want to have long distance to transport waste materials or the recycled materials. So our goal is to establish hubs in every major city for recycling, in our case, building materials. And that's so important, creates a lot of local jobs, and you only get the CO2 footprint you want if you make the whole value chain happening locally.
Wonderful. Really good idea. Let me ask you, the expert for circular economy, what impact on the environment and on climate does circular economy have?
Sure, happy to answer that, but maybe first on cycling. I live in Netherlands, so it's a country where any distance under 10 kilometers, you get a social pressure to not use a car. Yeah.
It's the country of bicycles.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, I'm thrilled to see there's a panel on circular economy in a climate summit. But maybe we're also wondering, why are we talking about circular economy in a climate summit? Right? That's because one third of the global greenhouse gas emission comes from industrial materials, metals, cement, chemicals, plastics. Right? We don't think so much about it when we talk about climate. And circular economy can reduce our need for virgin materials and for products, for new products, and therefore also reduce the greenhouse gas emitted from producing, extracting, processing those materials and making those products. That is one reason. And there's another very important reason, I think, mentioned by Thomas. Now coming back to the clean energy transition, right, has been emphasized again in this event. But to really scale solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicles, besides permitting, there's another major speed bump, that is minerals, critical mineral inputs, because all these technology require a lot of minerals. So, and there, circular economy can be a key enabler to help us to move forward, move faster on the clean energy transition. So 2 ways.
To sum up this panel, you as the expert, how can we accelerate our way to becoming circular?
Right. I think that's a good question, Hannelore, because most of us, I think, understand why, and it's really time to talk about how.
Yeah.
And
how fast, how to do it fast.
Indeed. I think part of my answer to that is be more specific, because we need to get out, we need to avoid being stuck in the thinking of, oh gosh, everything has to change, where do we start? And maybe everybody has to change, but someone else has to start changing first, right? We need to get out from that thinking. And let me talk about acupuncture. Acupuncture is a widely used methodology in Chinese medicine. So it sticks needles at very specific points on the body, and if you do it right, if you find the right spot, it can lead to change of the whole body. So I think for circular economy, for climate change, we need to find those acupuncture points that can lead to system change. And then we also need to find who, very specifically, who has a power to do something on those points. They can be ministers, they can be CEOs, but it's not only and not always people with the highest position. It can be procurement officers in a company. It can be IT professionals at a customs agency, right? So we need to find out people with a power. It can be you and me, and then convince them to change. So be specific of what needs to change and who can make the change.
We can make it, we can do it from a political point of view in the building industry, and you're the expert. Thank you so much. Big hand of applause for our guests here.
The whole panel. Thank you so much, Mr. Becker, Mrs. Stoll. Thank you so much. And you can choose how to leave the stage. It could be here or there, or maybe it's the bigger exit would be the front stage. And Hannelore, thank you too. I love how you get so elegantly pushy.